45 years ago, I was living in Costa Rica, Veracruz, in Mexico with my family. I was about 4 years old at the time. I remember that it was during summer because we had just come back from our vacation. When we came back to our neighborhood, one of the neighbors told my mum that she had just lost her baby boy and that it was the third tragedy around the colony within the month. I recall my mum telling my dad that night that she was very scared and wanted us to move as soon as possible. My dad told her that we would. When she was done talking to him, she called me and my brother and gave us instructions not to go outside after dark, no matter what. About 2 nights later, we were celebrating my brother's birthday, and after the celebration, my mum cleaned the house and put us to sleep. Sometime that night, I woke up to drink water, and I noticed that it was really bright inside the kitchen because the moonlight was coming through the window above the kitchen sink. I was too small to get a cup from the cupboards, so I pulled a chair from our dining table and put it right in front of the sink. At that moment, I happened to look into my neighbour's house across from our home, and I noticed that there was something or someone very big in front of their door, and it seemed to be holding something. When I got closer to the window to see what it was holding, I realised that whatever it was standing there was taller than the door. It had pointed ears and had no clothing on. When I saw the ears, I jumped. My chair made a loud noise and the thing turned and looked at me, and I saw its face. It looked like a police dog with bright red eyes on 2 legs, and what it was holding was a baby. I got off the chair, ran to the room to my baby brother, and held him for a long time. I was so scared that whatever I saw was going to come through the door and take us away. The next morning, we went to church, and our neighbour told my parents that her friend across from our home had lost her child the night before, and that nobody knew how it had happened. When I heard that, I started crying. My mum asked me what was wrong with me, and I told her what I had seen. She told me that we would be moving soon, and to never tell anybody what I saw. And I haven't, until now. My big brother and I were coming home from my grandma's place, down Milford Harrington Road. I think it had to be around 9 o'clock that night, because I remember we were rushing home to catch a certain show that came on at 9:30. But because my brother forgot his wallet on my grandma's table, we had to go back to Harrington to get it. We decided we'd try for a shortcut, this street that went off from the main road into the woods. We were driving for about 5 minutes on this road until something shot from the woods and in front of our car. My brother hit the brakes, but we were 99.9% sure that he'd actually hit this animal, so we were both a bit panicked at this point. I told him to drive, but he was curious as to what we hit. So, like always, we did what he wanted and got out of the car to see what it was that we thought we ran over. There was nothing. No blood, no dent, nothing. We looked all around the car, still finding no damage. Then we saw it again. This time it stood in the middle of the road. Most people say they see glimpses or hints that could be something, but we saw this thing clearly. It was standing on 2 feet, hunched, pointed ears, long arms and pointy nails. It had a very weird tail, like a rat. I could tell it had fur. Its eyes were glowing from our headlights. Needless to say, we got in our car as fast as possible. It didn't attack us. It simply stood there, watching. Even as we drove away, we could still see it standing there in the distance. Driving on Highway 191, a couple had pulled off to the side of the road after arguing briefly. They were at the County Road 46 intersection, and it was still a bit dark, but the sky was getting brighter. She stayed in the car while her boyfriend stepped out of the truck to get some fresh air. As he was about to finish, he took a quick glance at the road behind them and noticed in the distance, a little less than a mile, a figure on the side of the road, hobbling as it walked toward the truck. This surprised him in that they hadn't seen or passed a person since they left Monticello. As he stood there, he realized it grew in size, meaning that it approached at an incredible speed. Backing up, he yelled at his girlfriend, "Get ready to leave fast!" At a dead sprint, he ran to his truck and jumped into the passenger side, only to find himself screaming at the top of his lungs to his girlfriend, "Go, go, go!" Slamming his door, he took one glance back outside his window as the truck peeled off, and saw what he said can only be described as the most mangy-looking human/animal he had ever seen. He couldn't tell if it was in rags or just a heavy-coated black animal running or hobbling very fast as it quickly caught up to the side of his truck. According to him, the way the eyes looked struck him with terror. They were very large, almost bulging out as would a praying mantis's eyeballs, but with pinpoint pupils. Too afraid, he looked away to his wife, who was starting to shake uncontrollably. He took the steering wheel, realizing she had also taken a glance at this thing. Her foot still flooring the accelerator, he tried to calm her down. He maintained a firm grip on the steering wheel for a good 2 minutes, finally looking over his shoulder outside the truck and saw nothing. Half an hour later, they were driving into the city limits of Moab, Utah. My sighting took place around 11:30 p.m. on November 4, 2009. I work for the local 73 toll road in Newport Beach, California, and lately we've had some construction on the surrounding roads for the past few months. I'm a third shift manager, which is the 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. shift, and every night driving home I take the exact same route at pretty much the same time every night. On this night, I was coming off the exit of the 133 road connector, and I'll never forget what I saw. While stopped at the light, I saw a group of 3 large, 4-legged creatures dash out from the trees alongside of the road. I started second-guessing myself and tried to convince myself I was seeing things. I made the left turn at the light, and while the speed limit was still 40 miles per hour at this part, I looked up and almost peed my pants. Those 3 beasts were running upright. The wolves, which seems to be the most logical guess, were about 6.5 feet tall and looked like they easily weighed 250 to 275 pounds each. They had snouts and mouths that could almost be expressive, like they were almost able to smile or frown. The fur was dark, although there wasn't enough light to tell if it was dark brown or black. I was going 45 miles per hour, and the giant wolves were keeping up with ease. I started sweating profusely and having a panic attack. I then literally put the pedal to the metal and sped up to 70. As I reached 70, the wolves stopped following me, considering I was about to enter a high traffic part of the road. The wolf in front seemed to stop on a dime and watch me drive off. I proceeded to head home, ASAP. I did not hear any howls before or after the sighting. I told my girlfriend what I saw, and she deemed that my imagination was running wild. I also told my co-workers the next day following the sighting, but nobody believed me. I know I'm not crazy, and I know what I saw.